Hi everyone. One second. One second. Why isn't he texting me back? Wait. Hello? Hi. One second. Why are you talking to me?
Pick up the phone.
I didn't want to do that. I This was not on my list. I did this because I'm sick of hearing this movie. I'm sick of hearing about it. Oh, Obsession did great. Oh, I love Obsession. Oh my gosh, it's the movie. It's the thriller of the year. I feel like because Sinners set the bar so high last year, either people are trying to replicate that or overhyping something that they assume they'll never see anything as good again. I don't know what it is, but this Obsession. If you don't know, Obsession is the hype thriller movie right now that follows a guy who has a strong crush on his friend / co-worker, and instead of having the confidence to tell her how he feels, he decides to purchase a cursed item called a One Wish Willy. Hello, editor Alicia here. This is a disclaimer for the rest of the video. If it sounds like my voice is very gravelly, it's because I just woke up before I filmed this, so brain cells are completely missing. I refer to the wish of used as One Wish Willy instead of One Wish Willow. It is not at all a disrespect to the movie or anything. It's just because my brain did not wake up and decided to think that was the name throughout the rest of this video. So I'll make it funny, but I just wanted to mention it is One Wish Willow, not One Wish Willy. Also, I really do want to give props to the filmmaker. He did a great job in creating the film. I just have preferences about the movie, the storyline that just wasn't for me. So this isn't a bash of the film. It's just my opinions and what I thought was confusing and what I didn't like. But big props to Curry Barker for creating this film, especially him being a filmmaker and it being a small budgeted indie film, surpassing great amount of movies out right now. And make a wish that she would love him. And then you see the effects of said decision transpire. And that's what we're here to talk about. But before we get into it, you know I gotta come at you with them statistics, them stats, them numbers, right? Okay. Box office made $95 million worldwide. Okay. Budget is $750,000. And the funny thing about this indie small budgeted film is that it already surpassed the ticket sales for the Star Wars Mandalorian, which is also a movie I was debating to see. That I'm not a Star Wars fan, but Star Wars, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie didn't even compare to these numbers for this indie film movie. Rotten Tomatoes was 96%. IMDb was 8.2 out of 10. Letterboxd was 4.2 out of 5. How? Y'all trashed. And I'm talking about whoever created this rating system, because I equate that to like Oscar panels and electoral college votes. It's rigged. How is this movie surpassing ratings outside of Michael Jackson that's been out for nearly a month now and is worldwide still talked about and is actually doing phenomenal, where people are seeing it 2-3 times, and every time you go into the movie theater to see this Michael Jackson movie, the theater's still packed, but this one gets higher ratings? Crazy work. Writer-director is Curry Barker, who's also a comedian and made a few other films. Cinematographer is Taylor Clemens. And for my camera folks out there, the camera that they actually used was an Arri Alexa 35, and they used a Panavision Ultra Speed MK2 lens. And I will give props to that. They really did work a lot with films of time lapses and stuff like that for some of the creepy parts. So I think that camera was very used well. The production companies that supported this movie was, of course, the infamous Blumhouse, where they never not have creepy, weird things in their films. T-Shop, Under the Shell, Capstone, and it was distributed by Focus Features. The cast was phenomenal. The acting was great. They really hired a great group of people to execute this. Nikki, the one who played Nikki, Indy Navarrete. Sorry if I know I mispronounced your name. Apologies for the butcher. She did her thing. She carried. She really carried. She did a phenomenal job playing the crazy, obsessive character that was spelled upon. So she did a fantastic job. Cooper Tomlinson played Ian, one of the friends. Megan Lawless was Sarah, one of the other friends. And of course, the main star of the show, being Bear, the one who made the wish, is Michael Johnston. Michael really did a great job at making me mad at him. And then of course we had a little shocker showing of Andy Richter, who's also a comedian, was a part of this. He was the shop owner or manager where the four friends worked at. So great cast. And this is a spoiler because I don't really like to spoil things where people should go see the movie, and I don't want to give too much away, especially when it's still fresh and it's out. But for this one, I'm a spoil because one, it's already been out for a minute, and two, everybody already talking about it. And three, it's one of those movies where I'm just like, if I can save you the trouble, I will. Hashtag no tea, no shade. But I'm gonna give you some pros. And then I'm gonna go down the line as to why I have such a problem with this movie. Cue the music. Why you so obsessed with me? Okay, that's enough. I ain't trying to get this copyright. All right. What I liked about this film is that throughout the film, you do have a great visual of thriller-esque themes. You just definitely see the transition of who is talking being the dark demonic person and who is not the dark demonic person. So they did a fantastic job. I didn't expect that, but it was really nicely shown. And I also think too, because there are thrillers that does have like illogical reasonings as to how people would react to something.
Let's hide in the attic.
No, in the basement. Why can't we just get in the running car?
Are you crazy? Let's hide behind the chainsaws.
But for this one, it did showcase logical reactions. If they continue to go further and actually purchase that item after warnings given, then it's not logical, it's stupidity. Another thing I like about it, it did have some notes within the storytelling of accountability and ensuring that the person in the end does get their comeuppance, whether or not it was justified. It did leave this story closed without expecting more or any sequels unless this happens to another person in a separate scenario. Kind of like the movie Smile, you know, it's a curse passed down. And it did give great elements of creepiness. The sound effects for me was the star of the show, especially in the beginning. A lot of things that happened kind of jump scared you with the sounds popping out. So it wasn't like the silence and then something creepy happens. It was more of like boom, pop. You know, something like that. Also, the star of the show was the transitions from scene to scene. So you'll have one scene going, and then cut to a different scene. Out of the blue, craziness comes out. So that kind of threw me. So it did keep me on my toes of like, what am I going to expect next to see on the next scene? Now that I'm done talking nice things, let's get into the spoiler. Give me a minute. So in the beginning, we have Bear and his friend Ian at a diner, and Bear is going over his emotions and feelings, practicing how to say them to Nikki. Ian is over here telling him that's too sappy, that's too crunchy, that's too cringy. You need to say something to make her feel funny and stuff. Just really just making him think that being emotionally open and available and expressing how he feels was a dumb idea, which I thought the lines were pretty sweet, and some parts were a little bit, you know, too strange, but you can see that there was a strong connection between him and Nikki, talking stuff together, connecting with each other, her being a support system for him when in his rough times, and him being a support system for her. So there's a lot of strong connections and friendships between them. And clearly he has these developed feelings over time, except they just never were expressed. And then, just like how I said, the transitions go crazy. It went from them in the diner talking about time, immediately transition to Bear's cat, Sandy, on the floor, deceased, with a small pile of powder next to her. This is a comedy thriller. Okay, a lot of people chuckled within this. I thought it was funny. It's not funny for any animal abuse or anything of that nature. That is not funny. But it's just interesting to see how a cat descends from earth due to an OD of powder next to it, like it did some kind of kegger the night before, and now it met its maker. I don't know how that transpired from the cat dying like that, but that made me chuckle. Anyway, Bear finds his cat Sandy on the ground, and now he's grieving. And he's cleaning up and everything. He lives alone. And Nikki then later calls him to say, hey, are you coming to karaoke with our group? And he doesn't really tell her why he's not going, but more of that he just has stuff to do. And as she's on the phone with him, she, wants him to go because she has something to tell him. But then she does drop her crystal necklace in a toilet and verbally upset about it. And instead of this man grieving the cat and everything, he decides to go to a shop to get her a replacement necklace.
Why would you do that?
Forget the cat. And this is where we find him purchasing the One Wish Willie, right? Before he purchases the One Wish Willie, he asks the store clerk, and I've written this down while I was in the theater because I was literally like, you still continue to purchase this item after you were told this? So as he's about to purchase the One Wish Willie, the clerk says there have been people coming back with complaints, and he's like, what could people complain about? This is just like a gag gift. What are they complaining about? Like how it's not working or whatever? And she literally says, and I quote from my phone verbatim, people want to die or they wish they were dead. I written that, and I was like, okay, so clearly you've been given notice, so you ain't gonna no, he purchased it. He purchased the One Wish Willie, despite the fact that mortality rates going down as a complaint in the store that they sold. It is what it is. Every Stephen King movie, every Goosebumps movie that introduces cursed items thrown out the window right over his head. He's like, oh, well, this is real life. Clearly cursed items isn't a thing. After they go to karaoke and all those things, Bear offers to take Nikki home. They're in the car, and Nikki tells Bear about how she's going to quit the job because they all work together. She's going to quit her job to focus on her book, to focus on finding love, just to, express herself and just to get more involved in her passions. Now he has even more ammo and opportunity to express how he feels. As she's about to leave the car and they're discussing feelings and whatnot, and she openly says, because he's trying to get something out, she clearly sees him uncomfortable trying to get something out, and she literally says, do you have feelings for me? If you are given an opportunity to just say it, say it. Because of course, this film is a decision that could have been made, not made, and now it's just spiraling into out of control situations now. So after she asks him, do you have feelings for me? He says, I think we're good as friends. It's kind of like if you've ever seen the show Regular Show with Mordecai and Margaret. Mordecai is a character that very much has a strong crush on Margaret, but there are times where it's hard for him to express how he feels to Margaret out of fear of rejection. But you can clearly see Margaret showing like interest in Mordecai. There is opportunity for him to go for it. It's just the confidence. And I get it. This fear of rejection is a thing. But if you continue to be friends with someone and like them and nothing is communicated about how you feel about them, you're going to have more what ifs than at least I tried. Get it out now so you know later in the future whether it's worth your time or not, than to hold and build on it and let it stew for years and years and years. And this is exactly that situation. So everything that happens is all his fault, right? So basically after she's like, okay, good and everything, and leaves, he does the most irrational thing that he could do. Make a decision based on feelings. People who are even just told don't make rash decisions, that is so true. You do not want to make rash decisions of an emotional base, whether you're upset, take a moment to calm down, to cool down, because I had to calm down and cool down after seeing this film, and I slept on it, and I'm now coming back even tempered, because if I didn't, I was going to just throw out words and angry things instead of calming down and preparing. Just do not make rash decisions, because that's going to lead to a downfall in the future. It always does. So he makes a wish on the one wish really as she's about to leave, or she's about to ascend to her house, walking up the steps as he's doing this. And he makes the wish that says, I wish Nikki loved me more than anything in the world.
Woo, that'll do it.
You could have said, I wish I had enough confidence to tell Nikki how I felt. That wish right there already puzzled me. Why would you want Nikki to love you more than anyone in the world if you feel like there's a connection between you two where she may like you already? That's why I say don't make rash decisions, because that didn't even make any sense. Why would you wish something like that if you believe that you two should be together because of your connection that you already have, and it's just you expressing how you feel to her? So anyway, just like if you eat Taco Bell, Taco Supreme, and need to find a bathroom, it works that fast. That fast. Nikki stops from going in the house, and she immediately has those effects of obsession right out the gate, where she is not ending that night without being near him. So she lies to him, talking about, my dad got cancer, I can't be alone right now. He already seeing some weird signs from the gate, because she already acting a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but takes pity on her and takes her to his house, and they are together. They don't do anything, but they do make out and stuff, but it was already written in stone that she is crazy, crazy, crazy for him already out the gate. They really went crazy with this. Some of the crazy things that she did within a day, she's standing in the corner of his room watching him sleep. And there are moments too where the Nikki that we've seen in the beginning, who's giving money to the homeless, who's funny and quirky, who's all these different things and trying to find herself, the girl that he actually fell in love with, tries to come out of this possessed state and says, and it's like freaked out of what's going on. So you see the possession taking over the regular Nikki, and that is the obsession, right? So some crazy things that she do is like, screams when he talks about leaving her, and they arguing about stuff like that. And then there was a day when he leaves, he has a shift that she's not working, so she's staying at his place until he's coming back, and she makes him a sandwich with an apple. She duct tapes the entire door out, preventing him from leaving. Normal behavior. And then as she stands watching him leave, that is where she stays standing. And you would think, okay, well, that's already creepy, but what's crazier about that? She urinates on herself and defecates on herself, waiting.
Master made me this collar. He is a good and smart master, and he made me this collar so that I may talk. Squirrel!
And so then going back to the lunch, as he's eating his lunch, talking to Sarah, because Sarah obviously is seeing some weird signs of what's going on with Nikki and thinking that she's taking advantage of him, which is important later. They just talk and stuff, but then he eats his sandwich. It tastes apparently weird because he doesn't like it. And then Sarah makes a comment about how his food smells weird. And then he realizes that the meat within the sandwich was his cat, Sandy, that she cooked. Nikki cooked his cat. Moving on. So now he realizes that this isn't love, this is showing obsession. And he clicks. In the beginning, I was saying how there is some good logical reactions. So one of the logical reactions that Bear makes is initially when she starts acting crazy, he looks up, does the one wish really actually work? And he finds a page on Threaded. Maybe a couple people saying yes and more people saying no. So that kind of calms his idea that the one wish really worked. And so now he just kind of believes it's just her being crazy from some drugs that she used or during that night. And now that he's seeing that, okay, this isn't something of a drug, this is actually her. Now he's thinking, okay, the one wish really is actually working. Because he at first wants to keep the wish. That's the crazy part. He wants to contain chaos, right? And in an effort to do so, he realizes that ain't gonna work because she's crazy due to a wish of you wanting her to love you more than anything in the world. But even the way that she loves him isn't even love, because all she do is stay at the house and go crazy when he comes back. Don't text nothing, don't pop up at his job, don't want to just only be consumed by him, just screaming and yelling. It's giving, like, if you've seen Social Network or Mean Girls, like girls who are having low self-esteem or codependent or whatever the case, that latches strongly onto a person, and it's not even girls, it could be guys too. They can already show obsessive tendencies, and this film shows obsessive tendencies. Oh, and she also does a lot of self-harm to herself, bashing her head with stuff and everything. I don't know if that's just to make him feel bad for ever leaving her or whatever the case, but I'm so surprised throughout this movie she didn't die just based on head trauma alone. And she didn't go to not one doctor visit. They attempted to try to get her to emergency care when she was acting crazy at a party that they went to, but that obviously didn't go through. And she's just chilling throughout the film with gashes and bruises and scrapes and things all over her face. I'm just like, how are you not dead, ma'am? How are you still making any sort of movements? You should have been in the grave based on your own actions. But either way, it's not even her own actions. So he tries to reverse it, and the only way to reverse it based on the operator is he has to die or she has to die. Somebody got to be dead in order for this curse to stop. It won't stop.
I was calling to see if there's a way I can cancel a wish.
I'm sorry, we don't really do that.
So she's just stuck like this forever?
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as you live.
So now we're fast forwarding to a point where Sarah seeing too much going on, and Ian realizing that this relationship is completely unhealthy and wondering what's going on. Sarah attempts to reach out to Bear to talk to him about what she thinks is going on, that she has some things to tell him. And this is where a lot of clarity comes into play. Sarah confesses that Ian and Nikki have actually been linked up for a couple years on and off, and that he assumed her acting crazy in love, which is why Sarah says she thinks Nikki's taking advantage of him, because she knows her. Girls know. They be playing. I'll give them that. They be playing. They be trying to, utilize the friend zone thing and everything. I will give them that. That's the only thing I'm gonna give out for women's secrets. But I do know that it is wrong to try to use someone for their own personal play, especially when they know this is someone who really has feelings for them. So Sarah's conscience kind of got up to her. She confesses that Nikki and Ian have been smashing, which also shows how of a terrible friend. I don't know why there's a theme this year of trash friends, but Ian, who was downing his speech of how he was going to confess these feelings to Nikki, Ian tells Bear to call Nikki by a nickname that she does not like, in a way to make her feel like, oh my gosh, you stop playing. It was actually an attempt to make her not like him even more, because he was already smashing with her behind the scenes, right? So he sucks as a friend, and Sarah has also admitted that she likes Bear. So all of this kind of opened, and it reminds me of Spider-Man No Way Home, where, spoiler alert, where Spider-Man, who has now been exposed by Mysterio to the entire world that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and now everybody knows who Spider-Man is, that he tries to reverse what's being done by having everyone forget who he was except for his friends and his family. But it goes terribly wrong where Doctor Strange said, did you even attempt to try to reach out to the Dean? Because the biggest issue that he has is that he's feeling like he's ruined his friend's life based on them being associated with Peter, and them not being able to go to college or be accepted to any colleges because of that. And the whole thing where he's trying to contain this terrible situation is to reverse time. And Doctor Strange was like, did you even try to call any of the colleges, the deans, to see if y'all can even get to college?
Sorry, are you telling me that you didn't even think to plead your case with them first before you asked me to brainwash the entire world?
Well, I mean, when you put it like that, then...
He didn't do that. And then when it actually works, the prior actions of reversing time is already in effect. So as Sarah confesses that she likes Bear, Nikki obviously is awoken. The possessed Nikki comes out and kills Sarah so bad. Now we're coming into a close where Bear realizes, after the murder of his potential girlfriend, where they could have actually been together, this has to stop. So he purchases some more One Wish Willies. He confesses what's going on to Ian. Ian doesn't believe him. I don't understand why Ian didn't believe him, because if you see Nikki being overly obsessed and affectionate to Bear, and you don't think at one point at all that this isn't Nikki and not in her right mind. My issue was when he was given that one wish Willie, he made the wish to have $1 billion. First of all, your friend comes to you bloodied, bare the body bloodied in his friend's blood, right? He comes to you saying that I made a one wish Willie wish to have her upset to love me and only me in the world, and I need you to make a wish. I don't care if you don't believe it or not, just make a wish to say I never made that wish, just something to counteract it. And you not only don't believe him, but say I got $1 billion. That's crazy. I understand if he's like, this is so stupid, but I'm like, even if you don't believe it, you could have just entertained that. That's your friend who's clearly going through something, but is it $1 billion? I was like, so he goes back to the house and possessed Nikki is there. After Ian gets $1 billion, he comes back to the house. Bear and Nikki is already in this loud feuded argument, and Nikki is overly stimulated where she shoots Ian when he comes over to say, dude, I got $1 billion, and then he dies. Bear comes to the decision that he has to die. He cannot do it. He tries to get Nikki to make a wish too by giving her a one wish really. He then realizes I may just have to snipe myself and get this whole situation resolved. So he downs some pills, and apparently Nikki made a wish for Bear to love her as much as she loves him. And it seems like the perfect solution, where he's now fully in love with her as she's fully in love with him, like a Romeo and Juliet situation. And as Romeo and Juliet, in the end, Bear having these feelings, these spellbound feelings now for Nikki, lasts a minute, lasts seconds, because the effects of him ODing takes effect and he dies. Then Nikki cries, is in pain, and was about to take her life. But unlike Romeo and Juliet, the spell gets taken off, and now regular Nikki is back. And I'm assuming she visualizing everything that's happened because she's trapped in her own body. She sees her friend dead, her other friend and lover dead, and actively knows that she horribly killed her other friend, Sarah. So now she's woken up back to horrible, horrible trauma. And I thought, and this is just me thinking as a thriller movie, seeing all of these things happen and being a part of all this, she was going to snap herself. But it just ends on that note of like, what did you do? What did you do, Bear? What did you do? I'm like, wait. So basically, Bear left Nikki with so much trauma, and everybody pays the price for it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like these type of movies. I don't like the movies where these are self-inflicted things that now the person either tries to get out of and then brings people to their demise along the way. I don't like those. Like, for me, a good movie thriller for me is there's something that happens that's outside of your control, and now you're trying to figure a way how to get out of it. Casualties may be imminent, but at the end of the day, you fought your hardest to get out of something you cannot control. You really do get what you wish for. You really do. You get what you pay for, and be careful what you wish for. Because at the end of the day, he didn't get exactly that. He got a possessed obsession love that was not love. And what annoyed me was that it took him a minute to realize this wasn't true love. It was never true love because she never liked you that way. I'm taking this, I'm making this way too longer than it needs to be. I give this 2 stars out of 5. If I could give anything out of this film to display to others, 1, get some confidence. No, I'm kidding. God gave us free will. He didn't make us machine robots to love him and worship him and only him. He gave us the free will to choose to love him. Same way he gave us free will to choose who we desire to love or whatnot. So do not force anything. There's no reason where you feel like if one person isn't reciprocating your feelings that you just need to force it to happen. No. Love is not a force. Love is a choice. It's an action. It's a choice someone makes. You cannot force love. Understand that if love is not reciprocated from both parties, from 2 people or however many nowadays, let it lie. And someone will meet you where you're at. Someone will love you just as who is you are. And that is such a true story of people who had these feelings of love for someone who didn't have it reciprocated, and then later in life found someone who did love them exactly as who they are. That person exists. They do. And if they don't continue to thrive and be great and do great things and still love yourself, still put God above it. Don't put anyone above it, yourself, your feelings, or nothing, because that becomes an idol. And no person on earth ever should be idolized. No one. Don't idolize nobody. You are loved by someone. Family, friends, God most of all. God loves you more than anything on this planet. And this is my platform, so I will openly proclaim that God so loved the world that he gave his only son. The biggest sacrifice was sending his son to lay down his life for us. Love that. Choose your friends wisely. I feel like you really don't know who your friends are until certain situations pop up. And when you realize that, understand what you will and will not tolerate. You need to have boundaries with friends. If that's my thoughts of Obsession. Again, all of these are just my opinions. If you enjoyed the movie and really got something out of it, I'm glad. If you didn't and you feel the same way I do, in a way, welcome to the club. Let your light shine bright for all to see, and I will see you in the next video.